What do you call a player that has virtually played no tennis in 2 years, and does this to a perennial top 10 player? Yeah, that's right, he just strolled in and completely and utterly destroyed him. And yep, I get it, it's an exhibition, it's a friendly. But let's be fair, Casper was out there trying. He simply could not do anything, because that player across the net is Nick Kyrgios. A name that divides opinion like no other in tennis. Some call him a maverick, others a wasted talent.
Flashy.
Even more flashy.
Rebel. Talented.
Talented.
Special one.
But what if I told you that Nick Kyrgios might just be the most talented player the sport has ever seen? This is the kid that stopped Rafa as a 19-year-old wildcard at Wimbledon. He hits forehand so fast, all they can do is watch and applaud.
Right out of the top draw, at pace.
He can go either way on the serve and hits the corners at will. He even throws in the drop serve when he feels like it. On his day, he has beaten Novak and Roger. He has even beaten the former a little bit hungover.
3-4 years ago, I reckon I was drinking 5-6 times a week and still competing at the highest level.
But as entertaining as he is when he is having his day,
And is he going to ask someone in the crowd where he should serve? We've seen.
arguably, it has been even more entertaining when it's not.
Are you good at tennis? Exactly, so why are you speaking?
His ranting, racket smashing and trash talking are next level.
Fergus Murphy. Yeah.
Perhaps his attempt at humour or overt modesty can come across as arrogant, and look, he has not done himself any favours in shaping his public perception.
It slipped out of my head. It slipped out of my head.
Nick is nearing his 30s. The wasted potential tag still remains. But is this a moniker crafted by the media? Is Nick simply a misunderstood enigma? And will he still have time to change the narrative before his career comes to a close? So, out of all the players on tour, why does Nick always get labelled with the talented, but not hitting their potential tag? Well, his former coach Josh Eagle said, "Imagine if Nick worked on his tennis game 15 minutes a day. It sounds crazy, but that's not actually happening, and he's still 13th in the world." Even during a match, he's criticised his own preparation.
15, 30. So lazy you are. Play FIFA till 3 AM each day.
But how did a player with so much raw skill become this tennis nomad that cruises through professional tennis by barely even training? Well, for that, we need to take a deeper look into his prodigal background. Nick heralds from Canberra, Australia. His parents come from Greek and Malaysian backgrounds. Unexpectedly, Nick actually grew up playing basketball regularly and became infatuated with the Boston Celtics. Even to this day, he cites his love for basketball and that tennis is more of a job for him. But given his short and stubby stature, Nick's mum pushed him into tennis where his natural talent in the sport flourished. He played in the Under-12 National Championships at the age of 10. He let go of his passion for basketball as the Australian Institute of Sports provided him a full scholarship at their tennis academy. Nick was actually overweight and asthmatic. Nick even recalls being the worst physical sort of specimen. He remembers they did a number of physical tests such as speed, jump, change directions, and he was horrible at it.
Yeah, I was a big boy.
Did you just call our guest ugly?
I did not say that.
No,
I said
I was
he
fat.
had poundage on.
He would even fake stomach aches to avoid the embarrassment. The academy really changed Nick's mindset. Coaches targeted him, saying if he could not even do these basic physical tests, he shouldn't try to become a tennis player. And this notion stuck with him as a junior and spurred him on to winning. And winning was what he was really good at. He might not have been physically adept, but he made this up in playing high-risk tennis, developing a very aggressive game style, with an emphasis on ending points quickly. This is what underpins Nick's game today. Nick shot up to 6'4" when he hit 16, which coincided with a complete physical transformation, which dramatically improved his serve as well as his athleticism. He also had this chip on his shoulder to become a professional tennis player, to prove his coach is wrong. And when Nick shocked the world by beating Nadal at Wimbledon at 19, the world took watch and pundits started to label Nick as the next big star. But what makes someone truly talented in tennis? Is it the number of titles they've won? The records they've broken? Or could it be something deeper? Something that can't be measured in statistics alone? Talent is not taught. And unfortunately for Nick, his rise to tennis stardom meant the media put a weight of expectations on him that he was not ready for.
No, he actually asked me the question.
You said what?
I think it's his question, mate.
I'm
Is it his question? But it's his question.
Nick had the talent physically and technically to beat the best, but he had yet to mature and develop the mentality to be disciplined off the court. His lack of preparation for matches were apparent, and when things got tough in matches, Nick's resilience wavered. The talent tag can sometimes be a curse for a player. They form a mindset that they are talented enough to win and not have to prepare or work as hard. But this also gives them an easy way out in matches. I'm not dedicated to the game at all. There are players out there that are more dedicated. They want to get better, that strive to get better every day, the 1%ers. I'm not that guy. And as almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, Nick's words took the form in the actions on court, nonchalantly not returning shots, and even got to the point where he did things like this. Things went more sour for Nick, and the way he was being portrayed by the media would heighten this bad boy image. Nick holds the record in fines.
I don't want to play anymore.
Please don't use bad words.
Which really underpins his lack of sportsmanship, but also his mental psyche when it came to tennis. But talent isn't just about winning. It's about potential, and Nick has that in abundance. He's beaten every member of the Big Three, Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, and Rafael Nadal. And he did it all before turning 25. In fact, he's one of the few players to hold a winning head-to-head record against Djokovic. Although he has reached a career high of 13 in 2016, I think 2022 was the year where Nick has had his best preparation and was very close to rewriting his narrative. At the start of the 2022 season, Nick Kyrgios teamed up with fellow Aussie and close friend Thanasi Kokkinakis. Both are primarily singles players and rarely play doubles, but they saw this as a great way to sharpen their skills ahead of their singles campaigns. Surprisingly, they knocked out the #1 doubles team in the world and went on a dream run, becoming the first Australian pair to win the Australian Open doubles title since 1997. This victory was a testament to Kyrgios' raw talent, especially when he's in a team environment with less pressure. Winning that doubles title was a huge relief for him. He was now a slam champion, even if it was in doubles. This victory kick-started his season with a newfound confidence. Nick went deep in his next 3 tournaments, showing impressive form. He pushed Rafael Nadal to the limit in the quarterfinals at Indian Wells, narrowly losing in a tight match. He reached the 4th round in Miami, where he lost to Jannik Sinner, and made it to the semi-finals in Houston, where he fell to the big-serving American, Riley Opelka. Entering the grass court season, Kyrgios was in excellent form. He reached 2 more semi-finals, losing to Andy Murray in Stuttgart, Murray who has a fantastic record against him, and then to Hubert Hurkacz in Halle. But the highlight of his season was his incredible run to the final at Wimbledon. It was a showcase of what happens when once-in-a-generation talent meets sustained preparation, discipline and focus, likely for the first time in his career. Nick showed more grit at Wimbledon than in any Grand Slam of years past, battling through 2 grueling 5-set matches to reach the final. There, he faced the best player on the planet, Novak Djokovic. Kyrgios started strong, winning the first set, and for a moment it looked like he might pull off a miracle. But as Novak always does, he stayed composed, his return game neutralizing Nick's powerful serve. Nick lost the final, but for a few hours the world saw just how close he was to winning it. The guy who barely trains and doesn't have a coach. For a moment, the critics were silenced, and the labels of wasted talent and unfulfilled potential seemed almost irrelevant, but it wasn't meant to be. Still, that run proved that on his day, Kyrgios can beat anyone. He went on to win the title in Washington and made the quarterfinals of the US Open. This was the season that truly marked why Nick is a generational talent, but then disaster struck. And remember when I told you Nick had 2 years off tennis before dismantling Casper Ruud? At the end of 2022, his body started to show signs of wear. First it was his knee, then his ankle, followed by his wrist. And unfortunately, his knee again. He finally had that year of success, but his body just wasn't ready for it. Even though he had a much better pre-season and looked in great shape, the greats like Novak, Roger and Rafa have been doing this every season for years. Unfortunately for Nick, those years of wear and tear caught up with him. He underwent knee and wrist surgery and spent a significant amount of time rehabbing. I hope we get to see him back on the court in late 2024, and I'm looking forward to seeing a healthy Nick, not as a commentator, but as a real contender. Nick is still under 30, and off the court, he seems to have really put in the work to match his potential. He's opened up about his mental health battles, and I think this has done wonders for him. Removing the heavy expectations on his talent, focusing on his well-being, and not caring as much about the media.
I feel like we have a bit of a good relationship now, and I'm honoured to go out there and battle with the best.
He's still a character on the court, and that's something we probably never want him to lose. He's still got time, and if he can put together another run like he did at Wimbledon, he might just win that elusive Grand Slam. That would completely change the narrative around his so-called wasted potential and talent, and the world might finally see him in a different light. For a guy who trains just 15 minutes a day, Nick might be the most naturally talented player we've ever seen. What do you think? Is Kyrgios the most talented player ever, or does someone else hold that title? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content.